Okay, today we've got a BMW Z3 2000 model year. We think it was repainted about 6 years ago. What we've noticed is there's a ton of microfractures in the paint job. What we're thinking is when it was repainted, that Teflon was added to the clear coat. Teflon is very stiff, and when the metal contracts and expands when it's heated, it actually cracks and puts cracks in the paint. Something's got to give, and unfortunately it's the paint job. It's also got a kind of a very dull luster to it. It's not really a shine. So we're going to actually demonstrate a clay bar process with the Acrylic-Works. And again, we're in direct sunlight on a very, very hot surface on a hot day. So Mark, the first thing he's going to do in this area is apply the Acrylic-Works polish to this area. And I can see steam coming off of there in little bits, so that's the water that we have.
I noticed now as I'm beginning to clean that top layer, as you can see the fractures here. Big fractures, big air hole divots down in the paint here and right here, and that's not bad. That surface might have been treated, might have been fixed a little bit before it was repainted, but they didn't take the time to allow things to, from the appearances of it, just didn't allow things to cure properly before they moved to the next step. But yeah, you definitely have fractures all up in here. And
even farther up towards me, there's a whole line of them.
Right, and the paint job looks like it was never buffed out. Which has left it a real dull. That, or it could be chemical separating and surfacing now after 6 years, during the process of this 6-year time frame. But we'll see what we can do to restore a little bit of sheen and shine back to the original paint. But not knowing the history, car could have been hit, the hood could have been damaged. One way I could have tested this was to put a magnet here and see if we got any kind of a hold to it. This might be a lot of Bondo work in here, but I'm not sure. This is metal, so. Okay, I'm going to do as much cleaning as I can by hand, and certainly if you're good with a buffer, you can do this with a buffer too. This is just to demonstrate to the other 80% of the people that have never used a buffer that you can do this by hand. What we're going to do is set down the acrylic first. Now I'm actually going to clay this, and contrary to how clay is typically used, this is sort of the last way you would use it, is out in the direct heat. But with the acrylic down and the pores open, this offers the absolute best time to deep clean the paint job for the first time and not just do a surface cleaning.
So I can already see where it's not fractured. I can see the fleck coming out of the paint now, which we didn't see before. We had a really dull finish to it, and now I'm actually seeing some sparkle from the flecks of color.
That's what we're looking for. I would bet that this is a Teflon blended into the clear. With the painter probably figuring they've made a harder clear coat or a shinier clear coat, but future reference, never allow anyone to blend Teflon in their clear and shoot it on your car.
So Mark, in direct sunlight is claying this car. So for people who think you can't do it in direct sunlight, here is a prime example of the yes you can.
This paint is too hot to leave your hand on it for any length of time also.
What we sprayed on earlier was a lubricant, in case you were wondering. It's nothing magical, but still pulling off stuff. So he's going to really deep clean these pores. And the lubricant just helps the clay slide across the surface. It's nothing else, nothing special about it.
The key is to leave the acrylic on underneath. Do not remove that before you start the clay process. That way any contaminants you pull out of the pores are not going to slide across a dry surface. Okay.
So now we're going to go back over the area with the Acrylic-Works polish.
The only relevance to the crisscross motion is it's easier on you physically to do this versus this over the whole car. This is much easier.
And also allows you to use your whole palm to apply pressure to a wider area than the small swirl area.
And since there's no cutting abrasives, you can't really get in here and do any damage.
You know, all the marks you see on here, if you can see them in the video, were there in the paint because of the Teflon added to the clear coat.
Okay.
So Mark is now going to put down the water sheen to set the acrylic.
Cool the surface and set the acrylic and buff.
And buff it out. So again, we didn't remove the scratches or the expansions, cracks from the surface, but we certainly got the surface to a much cleaner and shinier
How's the
area.
clarity? Follow my hand?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we've got definitely a lot better in that area where you did it. So that's Acrylic-Works and the clay bar.